أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
ويسألونك عن المحيض
ويسألونك عن المحيط
قل هو أذى
قل هو أذى
ويسألونك عن المحيض
ويسألونك عن المحيط
قل هو أذى
قل هو أذى
و and يسألون they ask ka you they ask you referring to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they ask you عن about al-mahid. This is hayd. You know the word hayd. Mahid is the same masdar mimi, which means they ask you about menses. Qul, say, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Huwa, what is huwa? Huwa mean it is. It is. It because it is talking about. What is it talking about? Qul, say it is adha. Adha means adhiya taklif. Yes. It's sickness, it's illness, it's a pain, it's a concern, it's harm of some sort. So what then obviously huwa could mean he as well, but that's for intelligent being. It is for unintelligent being. So you can say it is harm, adha. Okay. So some fiqh of that, and specifically with regards to our men, they're very deficient in the understanding of everything related to deen, but this is more so. And many people have got very little clue about it, other than the fact that, oh, you can't have relationship during this time, your wife wouldn't pray, and they are not reciting Quran, they're not fasting. That's it. That's your limit. And you don't know much more than that. And although Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained that in Quran, for what? So that everyone understand that, the adult people, so that they can help each other out. Most wives do not have time, or they do not get opportunity to learn this. So they would learn through their husband. If they're stuck, they would speak to their husband. But here, we don't have a clue. So everyone does whatever. So many of our sisters, they just don't know, and they don't know when to get parked, when to not get parked, praying, not praying, however, asking each other, no access to people. Social media, there has been some help, alhamdulillah, but one needs to know that. So it's a bit of background to that. So any bleeding that comes out from the front passage of women, they're of three types. So one is hayd, other is any other name, any other bleeding type, and ever heard of any other bleeding? One is hayd. What is the other one? Istihada. Ever heard this word? Istihada. Subhanallah. Married for only 50 years. Need another 100 years to know that. Istihada. And third one is nifas. Okay, so three types of bleeding that they get. So this is the hayd, which a mature womb would excrete in the absence of, there should be no illness. It's not due to illness. It's not an illness as such. It's a painful thing, obviously, to keep getting unclean. Pregnancy, if they get pregnancy, if there's pregnancy, there'll be no bleeding. Obviously, you can't have pregnancy and hayd together. And the third, postmenopausal state. If they're already, banj, aqir, then they're not going to have any bleeding there. So if that bleeding happens, then this is alarming. It could be either something benign, something very serious, even cancer. So there's a commonest presentation for women after menopause or with menopause to present with some bleeding. There's always a risk of some sort of cancer going on somewhere, elderly people. What is hayd? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us in a very beautiful way. The womb of the mother, the lady, the mature womb, that gets the lining, inside lining gets swollen up with blood vessels, preparing for the baby if there was any chance of getting the baby. So every month they have this bedding ready in case the husband and wife have a relationship and the egg comes, sperm come, and they meet. The minute they have that sort of zygote formation or whatever, fertilization, it should go and have a bedding already. And then they wait. For that is the best time where a baby can be born. If that carries on, it continues to grow, continue to support, and there's no more need for bleeding. So the bleeding only happens if at the right time or the time when the bedding is ready, no sperm and egg fertilization happen. Means there was no relationship. Obviously, many women do not have that. Either they are not married, or even if they're married, the timing is not right, or they just use some protection, which is a common thing these days. So no fertilization, hence there's no pregnancy. If the pregnancy is not there, then after the time has elapsed, you can only hold these blood vessels for some time, and then you have to let go. So the body would just let it go. So every month they would have roughly, it could be longer, normally a monthly cycle, where they have period of purity, period of impurity. The period of impurity is when they start shedding. So for example, 7 days, shedding, because it depends on whatever is inside the womb. It has to come out. Everything has to come out. And that's najas. Blood is najas, impure. If they get pregnant, then the body would create and produce other hormones to hold it. And they'll continue to hold it, continue to become bedding. That's where you get your placenta, and they do not get any bleeding. Why they don't get bleeding? Because there's no need for it. Bleeding was only to release those blood vessels which were not used. It's like in a fool's cold. They prepared, no one came, no guest here, out. They just release it. You go through the same cycle again with hormonal change. Okay, so that is why this is the shedding. That's why they sometimes say it's like clot. Sometimes they say it's like spotting. Sometimes here, sometimes they're not like constant bleeding non-stop. That tends to happen more in istihada. So istihada is just a point. Istihada is something which is outside of this hayd, and nifas is something that happens, the bleeding that happens after the childbirth. Okay, childbirth, and that happens because the placenta is there, where the baby was, connected to the mother's, umbilical cord. All the food is coming directly, processed food from mother's blood, straight with oxygen and every nutrient, straight into the tummy, into the bloodstream. Sorry, not tummy, means belly button. From there, they're connected to this womb, and there's this placenta there. Okay, so when the baby is born, it's given birth to, they just tie it, cut it, and obviously whatever is left, that needs to come out the second time. So whatever is the vessel, that's a normal vessels, they're gonna get little rupture there, and that's where the bleeding is coming. This is impure as well. That can start immediately, ideally would start up to 40 days. That's a maximum time. Now there's a big misconception. Many women think that we have got 40 days off. Not at all. It could be even a minute. The minute they stop having any discharge and they're dry, they're fine, they must pray straight away. So it could be no limit, no minimum time or period of purity from nifas. Nifas is postnatal bleeding. What's the maximum? 40 days. So 40 days is maximum, not given to everyone. So many women, what they do, they purified 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, 20 days. After that, they say, oh, I haven't done my 40 days yet. I'm not praying. All haram, all sinful act, going on and on and on without knowing. Some would have done for 20 days, some for 10 days, some for 15 days. They keep not praying and no Quranic recitation. If Ramadan comes, not fasting. Oh, I haven't got my 40 days yet. So it's not 40 days. It is when you stop. Or they know when they stop. So lack of knowledge, ignorance, but that's not an excuse though. Okay, so this is, I already mentioned, childbirth, and then this is the istihada, irregular, in between. So anything that doesn't fit these two categories. This is illness. That's irritation, inflammation, infection, cancer, whatever leads to the bleeding. And that bleeding is impure, sorry, but it only, you have to wash it and then you're fine. You're not absolved from fasting, you're not absolved from your normal practices. You're fine with that. It's like nosebleed. What would happen if you have nosebleed? You stop praying. They're bleeding down there, I'm bleeding up here. So we stop. No, not at all. No exception, no excuse. So that is istihada. So now you understand why is this very important to know. This is istihada. That bleeding is not period. If it is not period, then they must resume all the activity after washing it. And they need to know whether it is, sometimes it could be a little confusing, but generally it's easy. Anything less than 3 days, if the period started, but it was less than 3 days, it can't be hayd. Hayd has to be for 3 days. By the way, there's difference of opinion. Other fuqaha would tell you differently. So the 4 imams, they have different understanding. This is Hanafi fiqh. Based on Hanafi fiqh, this is how it is. So minimum 3 days. By and large, mostly, some imams have just even 1 minute be okay. Some for long time, short time. For Hanafis, minimum 3 days. Maximum 10 days. Minimum 3 days, and we are talking about in hours. And that is why women need to know that they must identify this with hour, 24-hour time. Not like, oh, yesterday sometime. Not yesterday sometime doesn't count. Because if you, God forbid, have istihada and you have to work it out, it's very, very difficult. There are certain people who are called mutahayya. Those who are completely confused about it. You can only go by the hours. It's a very, very tough situation to be in because you have to make those prayer up that you thought were during hayd, but was actually not hayd, it was istihada. And on certain situations, you can only find out on hindsight. Then you have to make up for that. How much to make up? How would you know? So extremely important to know. And maximum is 10 days, which is, so 3 days mean 72 hours. Minimum 72 hours. Even if there was 1 drop and here, there, whatever, it doesn't matter. It has to be carrying on for at least 72 hours. Less than that is istihada. Likewise, more than 10, which is 240 hours. Anything beyond that is istihada. But what would be the ruling? Ruling would be about that individual's habit. So you, over the month, women just know. So every woman, almost every woman know that my habit is this. 7 days plus 23 days, for example. That's how my month completes. People, they know. The ladies know what is their cycle. So when the mufti would ask if they're in the trouble or for any concern, they'll say, what is your cycle? That's a commonest question. What is your habit? How many days? And what is the purity in between? Because the masail would be based on this. You don't need to know all of that, but just a bit of, understanding of the subject. In between, what is the period in between? Two purity, two periods in between period is called purity. It's called tahur in Arabic. Hayd, tahur. Hayd, tahur. Impurity, purity. Period literally means a time period. So it could be this period or that period. That's in Arabic is qar'un. So what should be the minimum difference between the two periods? In Hanafi school is 15 days. Okay, 15 days. So what does that mean? So your wife says, oh, actually, I stopped. And now, within 10, 12 days, I've got my new period started already. I don't know why, because, maybe I'm stressed out because I'm in Hajj. And you say, no, it can't be. It is not. Don't need to panic. It can't be. It is intermenstrual bleeding or something else. Istihada or something else. It can't be period. It has to be 15 days apart. Just knowing this much, you can make it very easy. You can understand so many situations and explain to your wife. And then, so that is why half of the panic could be just sorted out. It must be less than, if there's less than 15 days between the two consecutive menses, then it is istihada. Okay, not hayd. More than 40 days after childbirth, istihada. So if you look at the bleeding, there's hayd, there's nifas, and there's istihada. Minimum days 3, maximum 10 days. Nifas, minimum days 0, could be anything. And maximum days 40. Istihada, no minimum day, no maximum. It could be even once a whole life. Some people, some are called, they are constantly in istihada. There were a family, and there were few sahabiyat. When you look, when you read the hadith on this topic about istihada, you will find, Hamna bint Jahash, Habiba bint Jahash, these Jahash family, the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's first cousins. A lot of them had this issue, like quite constant. So they would say that I do not stop at all. And they would use cold water sitting on that, taking bath and everything. They tried, poor ladies, a lot, so many different things, but they would continue to have it. And why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put someone in that situation? Because whenever that happens, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has to give a practical solution for that, and he has. If no one had it, and we encountered this situation now, would have been a problem. Anyway, so that's that. So what are the prohibitions? They cannot pray, they cannot fast, they cannot recite even the single verse verbally with the intention of recitation. They can't even say wal asr in they can't say Surah Fatiha, nothing in period. What they can do though, there's certain du'as in Quran. Rabbana atina fid dunya. Alhamdulillah, even that, whatever recitation there is, without the intention of recitation, they can just do as a dua, because Quran is dua as well. So or dhikr, they can do dhikr or dua, that's a different thing. They can do that because Quran is prohibited to be recited in that impure state. Same for men. Men, when they are in their impure state, after, relationship or nocturnal dream, until they had their bath, they cannot recite Quran even verbally. That's according to all four schools. Hanafi, Shafi, Maliki, Hanbali. All four schools agree on that. Because Allah said, "La yamassuhu illa al-mutahharun." Only pure people can touch it. So touching, even without wudu, is not permissible. But without wudu, you can read verbally without touching it. But to read, you can't even read unless you are pure with ghusl. Is that clear? So Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahmatullah alayhi, and certain followers of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah in the modern time and previously as well, so they allow it. They say you can recite Quran as long as you're not touching it verbally. So they would have gloves on, the sisters, and then they say, oh, because it'd be too much, because how would they keep their Quran to memory for 7 days, for example, or 10 days, someone has that non-stop bleeding, how the Hafidah, the lady Hafidah, would continue to protect her Quran. Or if someone is, they said, yes, there is a problem. The problem would always be, so the idea is that they can either listen to Quran, number one, or do not verbally, in their mind, keep, thinking about that as opposed to reciting. Thirdly, if their teacher, for example, they're doing like, Ustani, she can't be just taking 10 days off every month and then Mazhar would say, off you go. So for them, there's a problem. So what they say, they recite without intention, but a small, don't recite it, but read it to the student in a small break. So not a one sentence. So alham, do. This is how you teach it. This letter, this is just make it like, yes, so to say, yes, like this. Mustaqim, like small breaks. So don't make it a one word together, so that it is not, then it's not called recitation. This is just the way to square the circle, because you need it for whatever needs, teacher or whatever, but you can't recite. Quran is categorical on this, and obviously Quran could be interpreted as our brothers would do. They say it means the angels, they are very pure when they, but the ummah as a whole meant it. Even they say it, if you say that this is for angels only, then what about the lady in her periods touching Quran? No, you can't do that. It's not for angels now. It's for you as well, like everyone. So yes, for that reason. But recitation verbally, we are not touching. Ummah understood with these ayat, with this particular ayat, that you shouldn't be doing it. But they've got other explanation, but that's fine. As a whole, ijma is on this. The jamhur, you should say. You cannot touch without a covering on it. You cannot enter masjid. Tawaf is not permissible. Relationship, obviously, between husband and wife is not permissible. Okay. Anything in that private area, they cannot have any contact, even with their husbands. Rest of the body, they can have relationship with their husband, which is different to certain Jewish tribes where they would not even eat food together. And they said, you are so impure that you should be sitting, sleeping, and doing everything separately, not in our company. You're impure as a whole. No, not at all. And sometimes people have that in mind. Oh, she's impure. Oh, she shouldn't be attending the grave. Normally, women shouldn't attend the grave. It is not considered a done thing, but especially if they would cry and wail and whatnot. So generally, they are discouraged to go there. If they had to go for, just to remind themselves of akhir, they can. But it doesn't matter whether they are having periods or not. They can still go there. So people ask this question: can a woman on her periods go to the graveyard? There's someone asked my sheikh back home, quite late at night, just before Fajr. Oh, this is Kunde Day today. You know Kunde? Yeah, Kunde, 21st of Rajab. They do like a special sweet and stuff, which Allah knows, but there are a lot of stuff about it anyway. And the husband called saying that, oh, my wife woke up to prepare kunde at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm calling, it's straight away calling. But she got haze. Can she make kunde? So my teacher said, if the bleeding is happening with the hands, she can't. Otherwise, she can. Meaning, why are you asking this silly question? What is the point? But anyway, well, he was agitated because you're waking up at 3 o'clock. Not WhatsApp those days. I'm talking 93, 94, 1993. And then, so for one, what are you doing? This is bid'ah anyway. It is not considered a done thing. We don't celebrate those things. In Islam, there's no such thing as celebration, additional thing here and there. Islam is very pure. 2 Eid, that's it. Nothing more than that. But then if you do it, just do it. Making it so big a thing that she's woken up the husband. Oh, by the way, everyone is on. What do? We can't celebrate. Food wouldn't be ready on time. Subhanallah. Anyway. So, and then obviously they've got, I leave that because that is not fiqh lesson on that. But we just come back to our, that's from when we do our fiqh, inshallah. We have already done it. Okay. فاعتزلوا النساء في المحيض ولا تقربوهن حتى يطهرن حتى يطهرن ولا تقربوهن حتى يطهرن So اعتزلوا is amr كمان عزلة नशीनी कभी सुना उर्दू में गोशा नशीनी को कहते हैं उजला नशीनी उजलत separate to detach yourself stay away mu'tazila anyone heard word mu'tazila there was a sect in the early Muslim community where they abandoned the circle of Imam Hassan al-Basri rahmatullah alayhi. Imam Hassan then said they have Wa'il ibn Ata and others they have abandoned. When they abandoned it, means they've separated, they've secluded themselves, they kept themselves away, they detached themselves. So i'tizal means to stay separate. This is why this azal, anyone heard azal? Sahaba used to do azal. Anyone know azal? Kuch thoda bahut idea? Azal is coitus interruptus. Coitus interruptus is when husband, the Sahaba wanted to have a bit of gap between the children, between the babies, next baby. So obviously there was no concept of contraception, like as in the barrier methods. So they asked, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we used to do azal. Can we do it? Said, yes, but whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is predestined would happen. So this particular Sahabi came and he said, okay. And they used to practice. What that means is that you are with your wife and just before ejaculation, you withdraw. So as to have the ejaculation outside. So sperms do not go inside. Which means that you're trying to avoid the pregnancy, but you're still enjoying it, which is perfectly fine. Rasulullah said, that's fine, that's okay, no problem with that. But then the Sahabi came a few weeks later, so, oh, my wife is pregnant. Even I tried, and I was very, like, clear on that. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would let that happen. A small drop here. And today we know, microscopically, you get more than a million sperms per ejaculate. To keep them away, it's not for one egg, by the way. Only one egg. So many contestants. So you can't win over there. So this is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. Because the reason is, will come in a minute. So i'tazilu, keep separate, stay away. An-nisaa, women, plural of imra'a, nisa, feminine, women. Fi, during, yes. Al-mahid, during menses. Stay away from your wife during menses. Wala, and la, do not. Taqrabu, do not be qareeb, exactly, do not come near. Hunna, there, do not come near them. Hunna. Hatta, until, up till, yeah. Yathurna, they become pure, until they purify. Okay. Good. See, getting there. فَإِذَا تَطَهَّرْنَ فَأْتُوهُنَّ مِنْ حَيْثُ أَمَرَكُمُ اللَّهُ. فَإِذَا, so, and, yes, إِذَا, when, تَطَهَّرْنَ, they become pure, when they become pure. فَأْتُوا, so, إِتُّوا, so, come, hunna, to them, and come to them. Maybe if you could, Beta, you go there in your class. आज बच्चों को इसीलिए आने नहीं दिया कि कुछ गैर शरीफाना बातें हो रही हैं। सिर्फ बालिगों के लिए है। बच्चों को मैं कहूँ वही रोक के रखना, आज बाइक बंद कर दो। ये सारे डेंजरस बच्चे हैं, सब गूगल करके कहानी पहले से बना लेंगे अपनी नाबालिग होने की हालत में। Fa'tuhunna, come to them. Means when they are purified, they've done their periods, come to them. Min haythu, from haythu, wherever, from wherever. Amara, commanded you. Allah. Wherever Allah commanded you, means you come to them where Allah commanded you. Okay, where Allah ordained you. Okay, where Allah ordained you. Come to your wife come to them from where Allah has ordained you. I will explain that in a minute. Inna Allah yuhibbu at-tawwabin wa yuhibbu al-mutatahhirin. Indeed, Allah loves yuhibbu at-tawwabin, those who repent, those who, if they have made a mistake before, then they repent. Tawwabin. What? Give someone the charge. What? And yuhibbu, and he loves. Oh no, you're not coming. We were just them two, isn't it? You weren't supposed to. In that case, I just realized. Sorry, decision was different than I. Yuhibbul mutatahhirin, and he loves mutatahhirin. Who are mutatahhirin? Those do a lot of purified people. They keep themselves very pure. They're not unclean people. Allah loves the pure people. Sorry. यहाँ पे युहिब्बुल तव्वाबीन का तव्वाबीन क्यों आया है? So tawwabin means those who, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, don't do it, don't go near that. So Sahaba naturally had this, oh my goodness, we used to do it, we didn't know. So we didn't know. So Allah is off forgiving, don't you worry, because you're repenting. Immediately the Sahaba heard, Fatazilun nisa fil mahid, stay away from them while they're on their periods. Ya Allah, keep thinking about astaghfirullah, because Sahaba, they're amazing people. You've repented enough. Don't worry. Allah loves those who repent. So not knowing because there was no command came is different than not knowing when it's there and I'm not bothered to even read it. Quran is there with you. You don't even open up. So you not knowing the Masail is different than when the revelation never came before. Sahaba were concerned even when the revelation wasn't there that we have made mistake. We have it sitting in our house very nicely covered in the most beautiful ghilafs, and we can't be bothered. Even now, so what? I didn't know. Why are you saying this to me, Sheikh or Ustad? If you do a lecture, everyone said, yeah, why you keep telling us? Oh, I never knew it. Our attitude is completely different. And Sahaba were, but they didn't know, and they did it, and there was no revelation. And they're so fearful. Ya Allah, Ya Rasulullah, what do? We have done it. And Rasulullah would calm them down. You remember, that's why they're the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are not. May Allah make us the friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nisa'ukum harthul lakum. Fa'tu harthakum anna shi'tum. Nisa, women, yeah, ladies. Your ladies are, your wives are. Harthun, harth means your till, your harvest place, the land that you cultivate. They are your cultivating land, the land that you would cultivate, you put seed in. Harthul lakum, that's the beautiful way of expressing. To give a clear idea, why do we have this relationship between husband and wife? What is the primary goal? Just to have your lust fulfilled? The goal is to have children. You are like a farmer. You have to sow the seed. That's the whole idea. This is why Rasulullah ﷺ said, I would seek pride in those who have more children. So marry those who are wadud and walud and those who have more children. How do you know? They've never married before. Looking at their sisters, their aunts, their lady cousins. So they tend to have more children. The Khala has got 5. She has got 10. She has got 12. This is a family I want to go for. They all have one or two, meaning that they're not in those days. Now, 1, 2 does not mean that they are fertile or not fertile. It all means whatever they are using the contraceptive methods and how they decide, because everyone has taken up to them. Not that they're some people, they have got nothing else to do except for just creating these babies, making these babies. As if you are refraining from all of that, staying away in separate room and completely pious. Don't even go to your wife, and they go every day, and they have got 20 kids, and you have got only 1. Is that the reason? No, you do the same thing, except that you are trying to prevent it from other means, whatever means. That is not something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala generally likes. So don't try to be or play pious. You're doing the same thing, except that you're trying to prevent the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do it. Do whatever you want, and you will find out. Nisa'ukum harthul lakum. Your women are your tills. Fa'tu. So come to fa'tu harthakum, to your tills, come to your land. Anna shaytum, from wherever, however you wish. So however you wish means come to your tills. You cannot go other than the tills, where you could sow the seed, which means what? You cannot go in any other passages. Ityan fi dubr, anal intercourse, haram in Islam. Even between husband and wife, haram. Major sin. Not allowed at all. Anal intercourse, yeah, not permissible. You can only go to the front passage. That's the only place. Nowhere else. Anna shaytum, from wherever, whatever position. The Jewish people used to think you can only have one position. If you did it in that way, the baby would be like in a squint. If they had this, or they would be like this. Islam, no, you can have any position. You don't have to have, this position or that position, side, up, down, whichever position, as long as you're properly covered. You're not exposing yourself to public or to yourself or to the angels, then it's fine. Cover yourself with the sheet. Don't be like donkeys or animals, looking at all the haram media and then trying to imitate that. That's a fantasy world. In the film, in the dramas, that's not natural. They're all fake. It doesn't work like that. So, but people get fantasized. So don't do any of those haram things, because you've seen those things that you want to replicate it. It doesn't work like that. Only do whatever is suitable and allowed in Sharia. So Allah says, your women are for you a soil to cultivate. Women are compared to the soil, while the husband has been compared to the cultivator. This is to indicate that the sexual intercourse has not been allowed for satisfying the sexual lust only, but also to make it a valid source to have children. By using the expression, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Holy Quran has given a subtle indication to prohibition of carnal intercourse, passage intercourse, haram, even with one's wife, because it can never be a productive act, and there's no question of cultivation there is. So there are your cultivation, where you do the cultivation in the land, which is the front passage, that's it. And automatically, homosexuality out. Can't do that. Even two women, they cannot cultivate. None of them are cultivated. They're both lands. So two lands cannot live together and expect something happening. They have to borrow something from outside. That's haram again. Okay. So very clear. وَقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُمْ,
وقدموا لأنفسكم
and send forth for yourselves, mean the children, and your act, your good deed. Since put forth righteousness for yourself. If you follow the commands and instructions of Sharia, you would be rewarded for that. A Sahabi said, Ya Rasulullah, how could we be rewarded for fulfilling our needs with our wives? Natural question. I mean, why there is a reward of having intercourse with your wife? There is reward. Rasulullah mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned. He said, if you were to go to haram means, would you be punished? Would that be sinful? Yes. So going haram way would accumulate, punishment. Halal way should attract reward. So that's the analogy Rasulullah gave. And that's how it is. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّكُمْ مُلَاقُوهُ
واتقوا الله واعلموا
أنكم ملاقوه
أنكم
وبشر المؤمنين.
وبشر المؤمنين.
So واتقوا الله, so and fear Allah, wa'lamu, and know you all, أنكم, indeed you will, ملاقوه, you're going to do mulaqat, you're going to meet him. You're going to meet him, you see him. And Bashir, give the glad tidings. Bashir, to give the glad tidings. Bashir, give the Bashara. Bashara, in Urdu we use that. Bashir al-Mu'mineen, the believers. Those who believe, give them the glad tidings. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would bless us with this. Should we stick to the rulings of Sharia? Because then there's everything is smooth, nice. So men should realize, women should realize, we are not just having fun, we are having fun. Why maybe it's quite obvious question, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it sort of like, as opposed to making it a responsibility, Allah made it a little bit of like, full of fun. It is, one of the most important thing in life. People do enjoy it. So why that is? Because if Allah didn't, why would a man want to have it, because there was no fun, to have a lady in nikah and to look after her, to feed her, to whatever, to provide shelter, house and everything. Why would men do that? And if there was no fun or no enjoyment there, why would a lady, after giving birth the first time and learn the experience of having completely stretching of the everything, of the muscles down below, why would she ever have the second go? Why would she agree on that? Unless someone, God forbid, rapes her. She wouldn't accept. He says, you do it. I'm not interested. But there'll be no one ready to deliver. The humanity wouldn't continue. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it in, the benefit for both of those. That is why men is more interested in this than the women. Women have it, but little relative to men. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made men in charge of this, because he is the one who's going to ask for it. There's seldom a woman who would ask for it. Very rare, less common. Mostly it is the men who would initiate. And this is what we see in our life and in the animal kingdom. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always make men going for it, because he is the one, the cultivator. He needs to go and till the soil, get it ready. Okay, so that's why they do support financially, emotionally, and this is how it should be. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam instructed men to have a foreplay. He said, none of you should go to your wife in the day, do whatever, and telling off or being completely abnormal in your behavior, and in the bed you just go straight and fulfill your need and come out like donkeys. You don't do that. You have to prepare. You have to take time off. It is responsibility. You can't say, I don't feel like doing it. It's not, it's haram. You have to fulfill her need. If she doesn't get that need fulfilled, you are sinful. Like she is responsible for the same thing as well. She has to. This is why you would read the hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam even would say that even if she is on her way out, going somewhere, so suggesting if she is on the camel, meaning she's already set out to go somewhere, and the men just say, oh, I need you in bed, she must come back. It is not oppression. It is not, it is, and remember, this is for the men who are normal, not abnormal men. Keep watching the pornography and keep irritating themselves, keep stimulating themselves artificially by looking at haram thing. Normally, men doesn't get the hormones build up within hours or days. The men who get they get complaint from their counterparts saying that he's crazy. He wants it day, morning and evening, morning and evening. Are you crazy? Abnormal? That's completely wrong. Physically, you would realize within few years, 10 years of your life, when you have lost everything and you're back, and you'll be like with 20 different illnesses, you won't be able to even walk properly. Don't do that. It's like, you need food 2 or 3 meals a day, but every time you see food, you need the food. 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th time. Are you crazy? So you need to become normal. Yeah, unless you have your XYY. That's abnormal chromosome people. They are into it all the time, psychologically, but they're abnormal people, talking about normal human beings. So they must resist. They must become normal. That is why you keep your gaze lower. Going out, doing your work, you don't look around. So once a week after initial first few weeks or months of your wedding, that's fine. Now everyone in this mood, they both are okay. First few months, that's it. 2, 3 months, you've done everything, you're okay, become normal again. Back to routine. Routine is once a week, maximum twice a week, no more than that. Anyone who goes beyond after a few years of the wedding into this every so often, every day, he needs to get it checked. He needs he's got some disease. He's not normal. He's either eating all the food which has stimulated their testosterone. There's all battering the testicles through the chemical change or whatever happens. Don't do that. Or they're looking at haram stuff, which is, so avoid eggs, meat. That is why it is not considered a done thing to have a lot of meat in your life. Meat would make you more bestial, animal-like. This is for animals to do it day in, day out. You see all those, the big rams, they have nothing else to do. The rooster, that's their job. But very soon, what is their life? You would not find them surviving for more than 5 years, 7 years. That's it. Done. This is why they're created for that. And they've got 20 chicken and they can do whatever. That's fine. That's for them. You've got something else to do other than this. So behave like a normal human being. So you would need it as you would need your food. Don't say 3 times a day as I need my food. No, that's not the frequency there. Otherwise, you would cause yourself big disservice. And likewise, your wife. She's not going to live with you for long. And either get the divorce or get completely put off by this, that many men now complain that, my wife doesn't even allow me for 6 months. I haven't had any relationships. 3 months, 6 months, a year. We live in a separate room. Gone are the days when the woman, you can ask her to leave the room and she would feel very upset. Because before you ask me, I am not sitting or sleeping in this room. She comes out of the room already. And she's not bothered about that. So she's committing sin by not fulfilling your need, and because you have done a lot of atrocities with your behavior, with your attitude. So be a normal human being. Develop love. Don't keep asking for your demands. Don't keep demanding things. Be natural, be a normal human being. And again, as I said, it is to do with a lot of meat consumption, egg consumption, and stuff like that. Have calming and cool vegetable, fruits, and slowly get off all that funny things, funny thoughts, and don't look at any haram thing. Control your gaze, music. Those are the 2 things that keeps going straight down. Irritation. Shaitan has got a very easy way of stimulating men through those. So stay away. Stay in the pious company. Zikr, tasbihat. And slowly, Durood Sharif helps a lot to calm the mind down. And slowly you will build up to that. May Allah make it easy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.